What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Dose of Destiny. I know what you're wondering. What is this girl up to now? Well, you're about to see in just a minute because I have a guest, which is unusual, honestly, since I've been doing YouTube. But I decided it's time to up the podcast a little bit, bring us a guest on, and I have an amazing guest today. I have known him for over a decade, and honestly, I don't even know when the last time I seen him, but honestly, it's like we just picked up right where we left off. Such a great guy, good energy. He has his own podcast called Cross the Line. And I figure, why not just bring him on? Let's collaborate. Let's be in community with one another because that's what I always be talking about on my podcast. But he is also an author. He's a father, a son, an amazing person from what I remember from high school. And I'm sure he still is. And here he is, Carlos.
What's up? How you doing, Destiny?
I'm doing great. I hope you are.
Man, I'm great. I can't complain. Blessed. Thank you for having me on your platform. I've been always looking to join other people's platforms to share my story. But I said I've been doing this almost 7 years now, and I've probably only done maybe 2 or 3 interviews where somebody interviewed me. So I'm looking forward to being on the other side of the questions this time.
Good. I'm glad you are. Well, thank you for coming onto my platform because you're doing some amazing things out here. Like, you got some agencies that you're signed with, and you've been interviewing some amazing people, some influential people. So can you tell us, like, how did Cross the Line even begin?
So Cross the Line actually began, it was actually supposed to be me, one of my best friends from college, Steve, and my friend Crystal. We were going to actually do a sports podcast together. And after graduation, after you graduate from college, life happens. Everybody got bills, you got a family and everything. So everybody went their separate ways. We did end up doing a couple of episodes together. But, of course, like I said, with bills and family and everything, life happens. So I kind of, kept the name Cross the Line, and then it went from a sports podcast to actually interviewing entrepreneurs, just having them come on and share their stories of like how they built their business, and if they were ever interested in sports, we would talk about sports on the back end of the interviews. But once I started going around locally interviewing entrepreneurs around the area and just hearing them tell stories about how they, started their business, that's when I became fascinated with entrepreneurship. So it just kind of led from one interview to another, and it would start out, like I said, with sports, and then it went to entrepreneurship, and now it's like a combination of both, with the sports side of it. I do Cross the Line Sports now, and of course I still, travel the country interviewing a lot of entrepreneurs now and have them come on and share their stories of success. But with Cross the Line Sports, that's been a big journey because I've worked with the Charlotte Hornets, I worked with the NBA G League, the WNBA, and also college football and minor league baseball as well. So it's a combination of both, the podcast, the Cross the Line podcast, as well as Cross the Line Sports. So it's a big journey. It's definitely been a long journey, which I'm thankful for it all, though.
Okay, yeah. So you said that you started with your friends, and then it kind of fell off after college.
Yep.
So, like, what gave you the courage to keep going by yourself? Like, did you have some type of passion for this, or what drove you to continue Cross the Line?
So we graduated in 2014, December 2014. It was actually crazy. I think Danny posted something the other day showing December the 16th or 17th. Was December the 16th, 2014 was like our 10-year anniversary from college. And my senior year in college is when I started, got into broadcasting, covering sports and working with the Charlotte Hornets. So once I got into sports coverage and, being able to, see these guys that I grew up watching on TV, and I'm like actually right there in front of them in person, I got that bug to say, you know what, I feel like this is something I could do. So I just started recording a few episodes by myself. I didn't really like the way I sound. I thought I sounded terrible.
That's how it is.
It is. It's awful. Even now, I still don't really care for like listening to myself, going back, listening to myself talk, but, it's just part of the process. So I would just drop random episodes, and at the time I didn't know how to edit audio. I didn't know how to do anything, but I just recorded everything, and I left it up. I said, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it up so over the years I can hear the growth in myself. But once everything kind of fell apart with everybody working and everything, it was just something in me. Once I had that I got that itch to once I was exposed to, working in the media and doing interviews. It was something that just stuck with me. And I just kept on going, even on the journeys with the highs and the lows. Once I got that exposure, and I think that's super important for anybody just to get that exposure. If you don't know what you want to do necessarily, just try different things. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because that's what I did. One of my mentors, Coach Cox, he gave me an opportunity. I just told him I was interested in, covering sports. And he gave me his business card. I reached out to him. He took me to cover Broome High School football. And after that, we went to ACC Media Day, and then we did some work with the Charlotte Hornets. And once I got that exposure, I was like, this is something I know I could do. So after graduation, like I said, when things didn't work out with everybody's work schedules, I just kept doing it by myself. And I don't know, once you find something that you really love doing, the money won't matter. Eventually the money will come. But once I was doing it, I just kept on going. I just knew this was something I could, do. I knew it was something different, but I knew it was something I definitely wanted to stick with.
Right, I love that. You're answering some of my questions.
Okay.
So that's good. Yeah, so that's really good.
But I can still break it down some more too. So I'm here, so I'm all for it. It's all good.
No, it's all good. So you said you graduated college and you had already had your first kind of big opportunity, or before you graduated college, you had your first big opportunity at Broome. So after that, like, what did you go on to do, even though Cross the Line hadn't quite taken off yet? What did you go to school for, and are you still doing that now?
So my major was information management, and I had a minor in business. And at Upstate, the business classes was hard. So I changed that, and I went to mass media. I was doing a lot of computer programming, but I was like, after these 4 years, I was like, I really don't think I want to stay doing computer programming for the rest of my life.
Right.
So that was a part of me going from the business to the minor in mass media as well. And working with the Hornets, like I said, in college, it was my senior year was when I finally got that exposure working with the Hornets, Broome High School football. I did a little bit of NASCAR. I went to an all-star game in NASCAR. And what else did I do? I did Carolina Panthers training camp as well. That following July of 2015. But so in my mindset back then was, well, if I'm covering the Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets right now, and I'm 22 years old, I'm like, I should be able to get a job at ESPN right away, like with no question. It should be easy to just get in there. So graduated in December 2014. I started sending out, started applying for jobs with ESPN, Fox, any major network that you can think of. I just started sending them my resume so they can look at it. And it didn't work that way. So I'm just sitting there waiting, and I was like, you know what? I don't really think they taking the time to look at my resume, because I've been covering the greatest athletes in the world, and I still can't get a job. So it went from me saying, you know what? Instead of me waiting on the opportunity, I'm going to just go take it and create my own. So I was just like, you know what? Let me build my own table, build my own network. And I relied on my mentor to, kind of show me the ropes. But then I just started, like I said, I went home. I remember sitting in my dad's storage building. I recorded my very first episode. And I just, like I said, I didn't like the way it sounded. But I kept everything that I ever did, and I just kept on recording. I just kept constantly going, no matter what. And it just led to one thing after another. And then, like I said, I started working at a radio station in Greenville, Intercom radio station in 2016. Yep, it's around August, September of 2016. I started working at Intercom radio station, and this one was crazy. So at the time, like I said, I kept getting denied by all the major sports networks. So I got a part-time job at Intercom radio. I was making about $10 an hour, and I would drive back and forth, to Greenville from where we stay is a long way.
Yeah.
So I drove back and forth every day to the radio station, and making $10 an hour. So by the time I got my paycheck, either I broke even or I was in the hole. And the majority of the time I was in the hole. But the thing that it taught me was the behind the scenes work. Just listen to the radio, listen to the commentary and how they break things down, running and producing shows. So that whole time while I was going in the hole, I still was learning and getting that experience. So everything that I learned back then at the radio station, I still apply to this day. So it used to take. I used to sit and produce like a 3 hour radio show, and it might take me 2.5 hours just to edit a whole radio show. But once I got it down pat, I could take a 3 hour radio show and edit the whole thing in 20 minutes.
Right, yeah, like the more you do it,
Yep.
it's like muscle memory. Like you don't
Absolutely.
even really have to think about it anymore at this point. Like you
Yep.
already know, like especially if you're doing on camera, what kind of lighting you want, and most of the time you can auto save all of that stuff, so it just, you just blow it in or whatever. But like just having that behind the scenes work, that period of time where you're on the come up, the things that people don't really see. Everybody sees the success. Everybody sees, oh, you got a successful podcast, you're doing this, you're doing that, but nobody sees when you were in the hole, when you was doing something like driving an hour and something,
An hour to
and
work.
then the traffic is awful. Like they just don't see all of the work that goes into it, into building a dream. And honestly, that's why a lot of people don't follow their dreams, because it takes so much work, it takes so much time, dedication, patience, which you proved in that period of time to get you here. You proved that you had the patience and the dedication and the passion to create something so amazing. So when did you realize that it was time to quit your 9 to 5? I'm going to cross the line to the next level. I'm going to go all in with it. When was that pivotal moment in your life?
So just to be clear, I still do have a job now. I'm only part-time though, because I told them I don't, want to, be full-time, because I feel like I'm cheating myself and cheating the company if I just stay here full-time. Because I feel like a lot of that time that I could be, that I'm giving a job, I could be spending that time investing in myself. But back then, I did end up having to leave the radio station because my student loan bill kicked in, and it was like $500 a month. So I ended up working 2 jobs. I was at Costco, and then I had another plant job, and I was just back and forth. And it finally hit me. I was like, man, I went to college, I got a degree, and all I'm doing is working and paying bills. So I'm like, I don't think life's supposed to be lived this way, where I'm just getting up working to pay the bills. But if you talk to a majority of people today, if you tell them, man, all I'm doing is just working and paying bills, the first thing they're going to tell you is, well, welcome to the real world, because that's how it is. And you figure out that, like, most people really are wired to think the same way. But for me, I was just like, man, I'm a go-getter. Like, I refuse to just settle. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5,
Right.
because I still have my job right now. But at the time, I was like, I don't want to live this way. So I got to a point where I started doing different things, reading more books, watching more podcasts, listening to entrepreneurs instead of like listening to music all the time or just watching like reality TV shows. I started watching the things that I was putting into my mind. And once I started doing that, everything just kind of like, it was just like, kind of like snowballing. It sped up the process. So I was just building up my own courage along the way. So I got to a point where my job of 10 years, that I was there for 10 years, I actually left there last year because I just wanted to just, step out on faith and, just build up myself. But over time, it was just something I was like, you know what? I'm just ready to do my own thing. Whether I succeed or whether I fail is going to be on me, because it's up to me to put in the time and energy to make something happen. But I think over time, when it's something when you have this calling or something that you want to do, it's gonna tug at you all day long. The things that you used to enjoy in your spare time, you won't enjoy the same. You won't enjoy the same TV shows. Your food won't taste the same. Everything is just gonna tug at you when you know it's time to make that move. No matter what you do, you get agitated. You don't want to go to work. Those same conversations you have with people at work, they get old and tiring. And even the things like I was just so programmed to doing, like it had got so bad to the point where like when you go to work, and I just tell anybody this, when you go back to work, just pay attention to what you do. You get up, go to work. Once you get there, you might park in the same exact parking spot that you go to every day. You go clock in, and then you just go to your same station and do the same thing over and over. But once you know that you have something that you love to do, it's gonna tug at you, and the things that you used to love doing in your spare time just won't feel the same. So that's when you know it's just time to make a move and take a leap of faith. Just try it. If it doesn't work, you can always go back and get another job.
Yep.
That's what I did. I went and got another job, and so I'm not attached. Because one thing about it, if something happened to you today, your job is gonna just post another post a spot, and they'll find somebody else to fill in for you. So just know you just have to find something that you love to do, and then when it's tugging at you, you'll definitely know it.
So you mentioned like getting into the mindset and getting into the mindset, it really changes your life, which is what I be telling y'all all the time. But changing your mindset and realizing that what you think, your thoughts are really creating your reality. How did you learn how to take rejection and like all of those things that were a crush to your ego, even though you had this newfound mindset and you're on this journey and you're living in your purpose? Like, how did you still take rejection?
Well, rejection is just all a part of the process. And it just really goes to show you just like how bad do you really want something. Because nothing is like, regardless of what you see on social media where it looks like people are just always winning, it doesn't work that way. Even for me, like I can honestly tell you, I've been in front of the greatest athletes in the world. I've seen Michael Jordan, I've seen LeBron James, I've seen Tom Brady, Asia Wilson, who's the best player in the WNBA. Like, I've been in front of the greatest athletes in the world, sat in front of talked to some of the greatest entrepreneurs, and I still face rejection. And it does hurt, but it's like, you know what, you just shrug it off and you just have to keep on moving, because all it takes is that one yes, and it changes everything. So over time, you just build that strength and that courage. You know everything is not going to work your way. Even though you want to, just still have a positive mindset. And don't get me wrong, I do have doubts at times of like,
yeah, it's natural.
Whether am I doing the right thing? But then it's always God just in my corner sending me like confirmation. Okay, whether it's somebody saying, hey, you inspired me, or another opportunity with another professional team or another interview, that keeps me going. But no matter what you do in life, rejection is going to be a part of the process. And I remember seeing Bob Proctor say that, even though he's passed away, he's been dead for maybe 2 or 3 years now. One of the things he's talked about when about entrepreneurship was, one of the keys of being a successful entrepreneur is get used to rejection, because it's part of the process. So everything is not going to always go your way, and it shouldn't go your way, because then it teaches you how to get back and go to the drawing board and figure, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I change now? And that's what I did. Like I said, I still face rejection today, but it just helps me over time. Like, you know what? I've heard no plenty of times before, and I just keep on going no matter what.
I love that, because rejection is honestly just redirection. Like you said,
yep.
It gives you that opportunity to grow. It gives you that opportunity to self-reflect and become even more self-aware,
Yep.
and to really take that next step. And sometimes, like you said, back when you thought, because you had some experience with the Charlotte Hornets and the Panthers, that you would automatically get a job at ESPN. But like, sometimes that rejection redirects you into something that's going to be more pivotal and more like just better for the world and better for yourself, something that you're supposed to be doing instead. And if we continue to take rejection to the heart, you don't really get anywhere, and it doesn't push you and motivate you to keep going and to just find a new path, because sometimes that's not the path.
Exactly. And I can honestly say, had I got a job at ESPN or Fox, I don't even know if we sit here right now in this studio right now, because maybe I get comfortable there. Maybe I make a nice salary and I just stay, working behind the scenes, and always depending on them to take care of me. But the thing about it is, I was down at the time. Like, I was like, man, it hurt. Like, why are they not accepting me? But then it taught me to, create my own opportunity. And I always say, I lean on my faith, and God is just redirecting me to something greater. So, like I said, he sent me to a radio station in Greenville to go learn the behind the scenes, to learn how to edit audio. And then my friend Trey, he was up at USC Upstate. He brought me in to, work some women's volleyball games. And so he taught me how to do like the production side of like putting the show actually on ESPN. So I was learning all this stuff behind the scenes, just connecting the dots. And at the time, I didn't understand why. And I wasn't really making any money. But it's not about the money. When you find something that you love doing, the money will come over time. So the whole time it's like God was just helping me connect these dots and connecting me with these different entrepreneurs along the whole way. So then as I fast forward now, I built my own table. I'm able to interview whoever I want to on my own platform. I fly across the country. I fly to Vegas. I fly to Chicago. I've been down to Atlanta. I work with multiple sports teams. Now, instead of working for ESPN, I have my own platform to cover these different sports and interview these different entrepreneurs. But the whole time, God was just showing me that, look, you have it in you to create your own table and create other opportunities for other people. So when I look back at it now, I'm like, okay, even though I'm still going on my journey and I'm still learning a lot, I'm very thankful that it happened this way, because had I went to ESPN, I'm not sure we're here having this interview today.
Exactly. And like I said, God put you in the position to be able to bless others as well. So this is a blessing to me to have you on my platform and for us to collaborate like this. So like if you had been working for ESPN, we wouldn't be here. So I'm grateful that you got rejected.
I know it sounds crazy, but I'm thankful I got rejected as well. And even now, I look at people who sometimes, because you work for a major network, like you'll accept whatever they give you. Like you can be depressed, and then you'll have people in your head telling you, man, you work for ESPN or Fox, you work at this major network, man, you should stay there and be thankful, because everybody can't work there. And then you can lose who you are and lose your identity because it's tied up into a network. And some of those people that you used to see on TV, you don't even hear from them now, because they find other jobs and other things like that. But you can lose your identity because it's so tied up into a major network. So I'm very thankful that it did happen that way for me. And now I'm looking at it like, well, just like a regular 9 to 5 can just like lay you off, Fox, ESPN, we see it all the time, how some people get these major paydays and other people end up being let go because of all of it happened. So I'm thankful that, I have something that where I can't get fired from, because this is mine. This is something that I built from the ground up, and I'm still building it. Don't get me wrong. But however whether it fails or succeeds, it's on me. And I don't have to worry about being let go from a major network.
Exactly. The only person that can take any of this away from you is you. So the fact that you don't have to worry about that, like if something was to happen to you, this is yours. Like this is
Absolutely.
That's it. That would just be it. But they would, like you were saying earlier, like they'll just find a way to replace you. So I just love that. I love the journey. It really teaches you a lot about not only what you want, but it teaches you a lot about faith. It teaches, like I was saying earlier, patience, the courage, the passion, what you're really passionate about. So you have all of this going on, all of these amazing things going on. And I saw where you posted that you're going to be doing a documentary.
Oh, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that? Can you give us the tea?
Yeah, so the documentary, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be special. So the documentary is titled 864. And basically what it is just me, from when I first started, doing interviews with entrepreneurs. I documented all of this footage, and it's just like a lot of stuff that I just sat on. I never deleted. I just saved it. And over time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just put something together. But what happened was, it was crazy. I went to the barbershop. I'm pretty sure you know TJ Booker.
Yeah.
That's my barber. Shout out to TJ. So one day I'm in the chair, and every time I go there, I'm always telling him, okay, I'm working with these teams. I'm getting ready to travel here. I'm interviewing this person. And one day I was sitting in this chair, and he was like, you know what? He's like, man, you don't understand what you doing, man. He said, you just documenting all of these successful people that you interview, all these sports teams that you're working with, and you got all this stuff on camera. And I believe this was, might have been last year, because we were getting ready to go to LA for about 4 or 5 days to cover a comedy show, a comedy festival. So initially, it was going to be was just showing, from the time we were getting ready to head to LA, and that was going to be it. Maybe like a 30, 40 minute piece just showing that. So he was like, when I sat in the chair, he's like, man, you don't understand what you're doing. He's like, this is gonna be huge. He's like, all of these entrepreneurs that you interview, all of the sports teams that you work with, he said, man, you can turn that into something huge. And he said, people love to be on camera. He was like, all of these people that you see, they're going to love to see their face in a documentary or anything, so they can tell people, other people, to go watch them in the documentary.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be bigger than just this LA segment. I was like, I got 6+ years of footage, like behind the scenes footage, behind the scenes conversations with people. I've done 3 self-investment tours. So I was like, you know what? We're going to turn this into a full-blown documentary so you can see where I'm from, so my hometown. So you'll see going through Jonesville, South Carolina, where I'm from, where I shot my first show at in my dad's storage building. And it's going to take you on a trip all the way through to how I went from there to like Los Angeles, California, and interviewing so many different people across the country. And it's going to show you the good and the bad. So like the temptation that's on the road when you're on the road trip and you seeing different women from all over the country in one place, and you meet these women, and the documentary is going to show everything. Like I tell people, I'm an open book about my journey. So you're going to see the highs and the lows with it, but it's called X64 because I wanted it to be a tribute to where both of us are from, our hometown, X64. So that's why I titled it X64, but it's going to take you on the journey of like how I built my business from just using a laptop to sitting in front of the greatest entrepreneurs and athletes in the world.
I love that. That's so amazing. And then you have like, it's like you're building a keepsake of your life and of your journey for not only the world to see, but your children. You have 2 daughters, right?
2 daughters and my oldest son. My son is 10. He's the oldest. I got them all right here on my.
You have 3 beautiful children that will be able to see, this is what my dad did. Yeah. This is who my dad was, when you're no longer with us, and not wishing that, but but it's inevitable. It's inevitable,
right, I understand.
But it's just something that's in the world, that's out here, that people get to see, and the people that you interview, their people get to see, and it's just amazing to see. I love that. Now, how did you get into, or how did you come about getting these people to sign you? Were you reaching out to them, or like these different agencies?
Yeah, so what I do a lot of research at home. Like, I think if people saw like the work ethic and how I put together these interviews, they would think I'm crazy because of how I put it all together. But most of the time, sometimes people on Facebook, in the beginning, they did the homework for me, so they might share an article of an entrepreneur that built something successful, and I will read the article, and then I will go look them up on social media, find the email, and I just reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Would you be interested in sharing your story? And sometimes they respond. Some people don't. Some of them say it's just not the right time, or maybe they're looking for a bigger platform, which is fine. But a lot of times I just, just constantly just reach out to people just over and over and just say, this is what I'm doing. Tell them my name, send them a link to my website. But I'm always on social media. I might read an article, or somebody might share something. I'll look into it. And if it makes sense, then I'll, set up an interview. Or sometimes people will give me just some advice or something. Say, hey, this might be somebody you want to reach out to. And then I'll just, go look into them, make sure it makes sense. And then I'll reach out to them and have a conversation. But for the most part, I'm always just doing research. I'm constantly reading, finding things people might be interested in, something that I'm interested in. And if the story lines up and it makes sense, then I'm all for, having those conversations.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you love to read. You read all the time. Is that something that inspired you to write a book, or tell us what inspired you to write?
Yeah. So, I think I always I've always been a creative, so I'm always, felt like it was something that I could do. But I remember, like I said, getting out of college, I was just working 2 jobs, working and paying bills. that was one of the best and worst things that happened to me because I hated working like that because I was working 13, 14 hours a day. But at the same time, it showed me what I don't want to do for the rest of my life. So I remember one day going to work and I told my brother and said, man, I'm thinking about writing a book. He said, what you gonna call it? And I said, F School, Life is Your Best Teacher, which is right here. And he's like, man, that's kind of harsh. He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, but once you read it, you'll understand what I'm saying. Because I'm not telling anybody not to go to school. Because I would be a hypocrite if I tell people not to go to college and I have a degree.
Right.
So with the cover art and the title of it, I wanted something that grabs people's attention. And just something that they could like. Because if you look at it, if you just look at the cover of it, you're like, man, this is crazy. He has a degree. Let me read it just to see what he's talking about. So I wanted something that was catchy, controversial. And so that's why I came up with the title and the cover art the way that I did. And like I said, when I was working those two jobs eventually I built up the courage, quit one of those jobs. And this was in September of 2018 because it was the weekend my brother was getting ready to get married. Quit the job, went home, and I just started writing. And piece by piece, it took me probably about 2.5 years. And then I released it on my 29th birthday of March 2021. But it was just something I did, quit one of my jobs, went home, and just started documenting stuff. And then over time, and it's just stuff that I wanted to help inspire people. So that's how it came about.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, this is genius, honestly, because you're sitting here and you got the degree up here, but you're saying F School.
Yep.
So yep. It's definitely got to play on words and on the whole aesthetic there. I love it.
And my son is in the photo as well. So It's almost like I'm looking at my younger self saying, knowing what I know now, this is what I would do differently. Because now I honestly tell people, education is a great thing, but for me personally, I don't know. If I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I would go to college like right out the gate anyway. You can go to a trade school, or I would tell a lot of people now, find somebody in the field that's doing something that you want to do and go shadow them and get an idea of how that field works. Because you're going to always learn more being hands-on with something as opposed to, sitting in the classroom.
Exactly.
And a lot of times when you get out of college, you fill out an application, they look at your resume, they're going to say, well, you don't have experience. How do you get experience if nobody gives you an opportunity?
Exactly.
So I would say go to a trade school or find somebody that's in the field that you're interested in being in and shadow them is another way.
I think that you can learn anything just by looking at it and doing it so many times. Yeah, school comes in handy, like if you want to be a surgeon or something. I don't want to, something like that. But if you just have a passion, it's something that you want to go after, something like this, we should have the opportunity to be able to fill out an application and go shadow these people. Unpaid intern, you ain't got to pay me. I'll work somewhere else on the side. Especially when you're young, you got all the stamina. You can pretty much do anything when you're young. And so I think that it's unfair in America. I don't know about anywhere else, but in America, you just get out of school, you go to college, and you take all these unnecessary classes that don't interest you, that don't stimulate your mind, and it don't get you going. And that's why most people drop out. That's why most people take forever to finish, because it's just not interesting. You just didn't get a chance to find your passion for real, because all throughout school you kind of just going based off of what somebody else is telling you to do the whole time, instead of going based off of how you feel. I really like to do this thing, but now I'm having to be suppressed because when I go to school, they're telling me I can't draw in class, because I gotta listen to the teacher, but that ain't what I want to do. So it's kind of like, and school is beneficial in its own ways, but then again, there's that part where there's people like us who are creatives, who thrive off of being hands-on and not just like reading something in a book. And I love to read and stuff, but things that I'm interested in. I don't really care about some stuff that they teach us in school. So it's hard for us to pay attention. They wonder why kids are being bad in school, and they wonder why people are failing. It's just not interesting.
Because I remember, you probably remember this too. It was one point in school, they had us like dissecting frogs. And
Yeah.
stuff, like,
I dissected a pig.
yeah, see stuff like that. It's like I know I'm never gonna do that in real life. That doesn't interest me. Like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this stuff? Even if you ask the teacher like, why are we doing this a lot? Why are we doing like geometry and stuff like that? Like, we're not gonna use this in the real world. They never really give you a good answer. They just tell you like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
And that's how it is. Like, after you graduate and you go work to pay bills, people tell you this is what the real world is like. So it's like everybody's always kind of like trained and programmed to do the same things. Like, you never get like the right answer, or you never find something that interests you or your own purpose. It's like you're just doing what society paints the picture of, like, this is what you should do, go follow this path, instead of like following what you truly love.
Exactly. And that's how some teachers fall into that trap of not following their passion. A lot of teachers are not even passionate about what they're teaching about. When I was in college, I had this insurance class. I was talking to my coworkers about this the other day, and she didn't teach us a damn thing. Nothing about health insurance. And it's like, okay, well, I'm paying, and I'm paying for this education. Why am I not getting the information that I need? Why am I not being exposed to teachers who are passionate about the work that they're doing? No, and I know that there are some teachers that are passionate for sure, but a majority are not.
Work to get a paycheck.
And they're in the same rat race that we're in. Yeah. So we can relate in that way, but some people get out and some people don't. So, which brings me to my next thing I wanted to ask you was, how do you handle, or have you ever experienced anybody that's close to you or that you used to be close to that didn't support you and what you have going on, or didn't see the vision, or told you to, oh, you shouldn't quit your job that you've been at for a decade? That's 401k, that's health insurance. Do you have those type of people in your life? Or
I think, well, my parents never told me like to give up on my dreams. They just always wanted us to do something that was pretty much like, I guess, safe, or like what they deemed as like success, because they don't know what they don't know either. So pretty much they just wanted us to, make sure we go to school, get our degree, and get a job that paid us great and had good benefits. Yeah. That was pretty much their model, which is like 99% of society. They want you to do the same thing. So they never just say, don't go after your dreams or anything like that. It was just, find a good job that pays you well. That way you can take care of your kids and your family. And that's pretty much it. So they never really like just said, no, you can't do this or give up on your dreams. It was just pretty much, just find something that was safe. But I don't think I ever had anybody say, nah, you're a failure. Don't do this. Nah, I did. This was last summer, maybe a year or two ago. Just being transparent. It was a point like before I quit my job. I was talking to this young lady I went to college with, and I was like, man, I'm thinking about stepping down from my job, maybe going down to part-time, and then eventually leaving. And the stuff that she was saying is like, it made sense. But when you're going after your dreams, like, everything is not going to align.
You don't want to hear that shit.
Exactly. So she was like, well, you got kids, you need to think about your kids and do all of this before you just give up everything. And I was just like, in my mind, I was like, I know she meant well, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't look for nobody to just tell me like not to do something. So in my mind, I was like, oh, so you don't think that I can do it? Yeah. She's like, I'm not saying that. She's just like, think about everything that you have and what you need to do. But like I said, when you have that call and it's something tugging on you, it's not going to make sense to 99% of the world. So for me, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because like I said, I'm the type, man, like I don't like doing the same thing everybody's doing anyway. Yeah. So when she was kind of saying that, it kind of made me fall back, which it wasn't like a serious thing anyway, because we went to school together, but we would probably just maybe reconnected for maybe like a few weeks or so. So it kind of made me just like fall back from her. Like, I still wish her well. It's still all love. Like, we still can communicate. She reach out to me or whatever. But to me, it kind of like fell back after this. So we
Yeah.
kind of like lost communication. But just somebody just flat out saying you can't do something or you're a failure, I haven't had that. But it's kind of like that little moment right there was something where kind of like I just use it as motivation.
Right, exactly. Because, like I was saying earlier, we're doing something very unorthodox. Not everybody has the courage to go on a platform or have a platform, create a platform, and keep it going, even when they're getting 2 views.
Yep.
You know, it takes a lot of courage. You really have to put your ego to the side.
Yep.
And you really have to hone in on what it is that God placed on your heart, because it does tug at you. The more you do something that you're out of alignment with, the more it tugs at you. Like, I'll be at work editing videos. Like, I'll record a video before I go to work, be at work, edit the video, put it out the next day type thing. So it's like a constant thing that it takes a lot of work to put into these episodes, and a lot of inner work as well, especially with the things that I speak about on my platform. But doing that inner work and putting forth the work physically into your passion is really just what makes it become this.
Will Smith said something in his book, and I told a lot of people this, like, the book Will. Have you ever read it?
Mm-mm.
It's probably one of the top 3 books that I ever read. Definitely in my top 5 for sure, but probably in my top 3 favorite books that I ever read, hands down.
Yeah.
And he said something in his book. He said that the universe is not logical, it's magical. So it's basically saying, like, everything that makes perfect sense to 99% of the world, when it comes to your dreams, you can just throw that out the window.
Yep.
And he spoke about how, you know, when his mom wanted him to go to college, I believe in Wisconsin, and go get his degree. But he was like, no, I want to make music. I want to be a rapper. And he talked his mom and his dad into it. They said, all right, you got 1 year to make this happen. And I'll never forget, he said, you know, he made a song with Jazz, and he was at his dad's shop just scooping ice. And it was a summertime countdown. They did a top 10 every night. And he was in the shop just scooping ice. Scoop bag. He said in the book, scoop bag, scoop bag. So right as he was getting ready to wrap up and shut down or whatever, the countdown got all the way 5, 4, 3, 2, and right as he was getting ready to leave, I think the song was some girls want to have fun, something. He had the number 1 song on the radio, and he knew then, he was like, that was it. So Will just followed his dream. Like he said, the universe is not logical, it's magical. And because he believed in it, and his parents gave him a deadline of 1 year, if it don't work out, you going to college and you going to get your degree. And that was the beginning of Will Smith's dreams, and became a millionaire, and everything he ever wanted. Like, he lived out his dream because he was just so dedicated to it and committed to following his dream, following his heart. And look at clearly one of the biggest entertainers in the world, one of the most famous people in the world.
Very
today.
influential. There's so many Will Smith movies that I just love, especially Pursuit of Happiness. That movie, I could watch that movie so many times. And just think about it. Had he not pursued his dreams, had he been too afraid, had he been like, oh, it's not worth it, we wouldn't have had...
We wouldn't see him.
We wouldn't have had none of these great movies, and the Fresh Prince. We wouldn't have had none of these things that he's brought to the world.
Yep.
We wouldn't have had that. So I'm thankful.
Actually, when you said The Pursuit of Happiness, I actually had that clip on my phone. It's one of my favorite clips from a movie ever. When he's playing basketball with his son, Jaden. And his son told him he wanted to play basketball or something. He told him, you can't do that. You need to find something else to do. And he looked at him and told me, he said, don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something. He said, when people say you can't do something, they tell you they can't do something because they can't do it. You know, just go after your dreams. And he said, if you want something, go get it. Period. And that's one of my favorite clips from that movie, is because, you know, he was telling his son not to go after his dreams, and then he called himself and told him, hey, if you want something, go after it, no matter what. And I live by that, man. Whatever your dream is, whatever your calling is, you know, find it and just don't give up on it, like, no matter what it is.
Because if you listen to what everybody else has to say, they're only giving you their advice and giving you feedback from their perspective based off of their own capacity to be able to accomplish something like that. That's why I don't tell nobody nothing until it happens. And then I'm like, oh, well, I got this going on, I got that going on, because I don't need anybody to tell me I can't do it. I don't need anybody to tell me that, oh, you need to go back to school or you need to do it. It's just not, I'm not going to listen to you. So I'm saving myself time and energy, and I'm saving you time and energy.
Man, I've had people tell me, they was like, man, you, and I know they don't mean harm, but they was say stuff like, man, you still doing your little podcast thing? I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing it, man. But yeah, we got a studio now. We traveling across the country, interviewing entrepreneurs. I'm working with the NBA. I'm working with the WNBA. I'm working with the NBA G League. I'm working with minor league baseball. Okay. Yeah, I still got the little podcast. We still
it's still a little podcast.
We travel across the country, but yeah, I still got the little small podcast.
I still got my little podcast. But we doing big things, though.
Exactly.
And sometimes there are people who mean well, and then there are some people who are just haters. And I don't even think they'd be realizing that they're hating or that they're jealous. And honestly, on the other side of jealousy is admiration. So they really low-key admire what you're doing. They just don't know how to express that, you know?
But for me, I don't really... Maybe there's some people that envy me, which would be weird because, like, I'm not really like a talkative person. I don't really hang around a lot of people. I really hang around my same circle. Like, I just like to inspire people. I don't talk down on anybody. So what reason would you have not to like me or whatever? But for me, I don't really pay attention to the haters.
Exactly.
I pay attention to people who are, like, looking for inspiration, or I pay attention to people who are doing successful things. And it's almost like, really like the law of attraction. Almost like, think about when you, let's say, you have a certain type of car or something that you really want. And then when you finally get it, now it seems like you see that car everywhere. It's like, so many different people have the same type of car. It's just like, once you put your mind on something, even on your phone, like when you think about a certain thing or talk about it, then all of a sudden it just pops up in your algorithm. So it's basically about, like, what do you pay your attention to? What do you focus on? So
exactly,
I don't really pay attention to, like, the negativity, because if I do, like, it'll just drive me crazy.
It will.
It's too much of that out here. So I'm always focused on, like, positive things, like looking for inspiration. I'm looking to inspire people. I'm looking at people who inspire me instead of just, like, focusing on the negative. Like, I don't really have time for that type of stuff.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, because just focusing on the negative really takes you out of the vibration to be able to get what you want. Because like you said, the universe is magical. It's not logical. So if you're focusing on, you're creating this magic, this negative magic, basically. Because there's positive magic and there's negative. So if that's what you're all focused on, that's what you're going to keep attracting. That's the only thing that you're going to see. Even if there are people who are inspired by you and who love you, you're only going to, because I see a lot of celebrities, they'll always respond to negative comments.
They always do that.
And it's like, there's so many people that love you. Why are you choosing to respond to the one hateful comment that somebody has to say? That person is just trying to get under your skin, or sometimes people comment negative things because they want your attention.
Yeah, they want you to. And then they're like, oh man, this person responded to me. And they ain't even really hating on. They just want to see if you going to respond to them. You gave them that type of attention.
You gave them that type of attention. So it's really all in what you decide to put your attention to. It's really all in what you choose, because everything is a choice. So if you choosing the negativity, that's what you're gonna experience.
That's what's gonna come your way. Like I said, I don't focus on that. Like, I focus on the positive. Of course, things are gonna happen, but that's life. But you choose what you decide what bothers you or what fuels you. Like, it's up to you to decide, like, what gets you going.
Exactly. So, how do you handle when you have those thoughts that creep up that tell you that you can't do it, instead of other people? It's yourself, your mind telling you can't do it. So how do you deal with those doubts?
It's just, for me, I don't know. It's just weird. I just feel like it's just God just telling me to keep going, because it's been a lot of times where I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do this. It's like it's too much. Like, I remember one time when we did our first self-investment tour, we flew down to Miami, and we landed in Miami, and thankfully we pushed the interview back to the next day because we landed in Miami, and somehow my luggage still is in Charlotte. Like, I don't even want to say the airline because I don't want to do that too. I flew on that airline again after that, but my bag, I had my clothes, but my bag with the equipment was still in Charlotte. So I was calling the airlines, just seeing what's going on with my luggage. They was like, it's still in Charlotte. We won't be able to get it to you till the next day. So then I had to call the guy that we were doing the interview with, tell him, hey, this was what happened. We gotta he said, nah, that's cool. Make sure you get your luggage and then get your equipment. Then you can come over here. But that whole night, we were down in Miami. We was going to have a good time, man. But it just ruined my whole mood because I was like, I don't even have my stuff. And I was like, man, I'm ready to quit, man. It's getting to be too much. Like, it's always something going on. But the next day, we had to drive back. We stayed in Miami, but we landed in Fort Lauderdale. So we drove back up there, got the luggage, and my bag was just destroyed. But the airline replaced it, gave me a brand new bag, got the luggage, and then we got the equipment. Then we went and shot the interview. But it just things just like, man, just life just happens.
Setbacks.
It's just gonna be a little small setback. You just gotta keep going. But I always feel like God just sends me some kind of confirmation of just saying, you know what, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
You just gotta keep on going because it's not gonna be perfect, but just know I'm with you through everything. And when I tell you God been with me on my whole journey,
Listen.
and I never force my beliefs on anybody, but I'm a strong believer in God and my faith because there's no way that I could accomplish half of the stuff that I've accomplished without God, man.
I agree.
And it's just been a lot. But you know, when I had those moments of doubt, I just keep on going. Just like, well, this didn't work out. Something greater is coming my way.
Yeah.
I just know it's just only a matter of time before something is greater coming my way, and you just have to keep on going. Don't give up no matter what, because if you do, then you let the enemy win. Because if the enemy's not coming at you every day, then he already got you. Because when you really going after something, you dreaming so big, it's always going to be something that come up. I don't care what it is. Whether you going after your dreams and then you say you want to have a certain amount of money saved up, then your car break down, then your kid's sick.
Yeah.
Something always gonna come up, no matter what. But you just gotta find that courage and strength. You know, even when you have those moments of doubt, they creep in your head and say, "This ain't the right time." That's when you gotta push the pedal to the metal.
You gotta push through. I'm telling you, you gotta push through. And it be so many times where I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna do this because I'm too tired. Like, because I work night shift, so it's like a different type of tired.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just wait. And I'm like, you know what? No, I can't do this. If I'm gonna, you can't hold yourself back, and you also can't let anything else hold you back in that instance because something else could have possibly worked out. Now, I know sometimes when things do happen, it's like, oh, it just makes you so mad. But if you can find a way to just push through and have a little bit of faith, it just takes a little bit. Even if you are mad, if you just have that small ounce of faith that things are just going to work out, they will.
And it always, when you look at it at the end of the day, no matter what we going through, it always work out. Like when you finally look back on the situation, you might laugh about it. At that moment, it might not be funny, but
right?
it always work out. I remember last year when we came back from LA, me being cheap, because I like to save $1 if I can.
Me too. Okay.
So my homegirl I went to school with at Upstate, she stayed probably about 5-10 minutes away from the airport. So I used to normally leave my car in the parking lot at her apartment and just catch an Uber over there, thinking I'm gonna save a few dollars.
Yeah.
Go to LA for like 5 days, and I get back and my car is gone. They towed my car. They was under new management. They towed my car. So I had to call the people, I had to catch a ride over there to where they had my car towed.
Dang.
And then I had to pay what probably would have cost me like $72 just to park for those days at the airport.
Yeah.
I ended up paying $500. But while I'm sitting out there, I think I still got the video on my phone. While I'm sitting out there waiting on the people to come get my car out of the storage, I'm just sitting there making a video with my bag sitting beside me. I'm cussing. I'm like, man, look at this. I got my bags right here. I'm sitting out here in the cold waiting to get back, ready to get back home. So at that time, it wasn't funny because I'm like, man, my car totaled. Thankfully, I had the money to get it out. But at the time, it wasn't funny. But now I look back at it, I'm like, man, I got to stop being cheap sometimes.
Right, yeah. Sometimes
money.
Sometimes you can't be cheap.
Yeah.
I was never would have done that.
It's been so many times, like I flew to Vegas, I done flew to Oakland, California, a lot of different places, and I'll just leave my car out there. But then there's one time, I didn't know it, she didn't tell me that they was under new management. And the time that I left, that time when I went out there, I had my car towed. Never again. I ain't never did it.
Pay that money at the airport. Man. Now I'll pay for some stuff that's worth it, but like I don't be wanting. Like I went to New York like a couple of weekends ago, and
you like New York?
I loved it. You didn't like it?
It's cool to visit, but I wouldn't live there. Like I ain't really care for it like that. It's too crowded to me.
It is crowded.
A lot of commotion going back.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot going on. I would stay in the outskirts though. I liked it in the outskirts, but I went up there and the Ubers were so expensive. Like it was one Uber that was gonna cost me from Times Square back to my Airbnb. It was gonna be like $200.
Oh,
I was like.
No. You might as well just get a rental or something then if you
know what I'm saying? I swear the only money I spent was on rides.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I figured out the train system. And
yeah, you got to catch a train.
Yeah, I called the train. I mean, it was a lot of chaos in that, which I talk about on my channel. But, it was a lot of chaos. But I was like, I'm trying to take the cheaper way. I was like, but God, I understand if you want me to pay the $200. I'll pay the...
Man, I don't know about paying the $200 though, man. I'm going to catch a train. But luckily, when I went, so I stayed in New Jersey, and I had a friend that stayed up there. So she showed me how to we went to the town, because I had to shoot some interviews. So she would take me to shoot an interview. I interviewed her cousin and another lady up there. So she drove me to my interview. But when we went to go down to Times Square and all that, we took a train, and she showed me how all that stuff worked.
Yeah.
But we didn't pay $200 though. I wasn't paying no $200, man. I was like, look, we just gonna go shoot these interviews, come back, and that's it. I ain't gonna do nothing else. No, that's food. That's money for food or anything else.
I mean, spend the money that I could get my family stuff or myself stuff. Like, I don't want to spend that on a ride. Like, it's a difference between spending $200 in general and spending $200 on a ride. Trip, anyway. Yeah, on one trip. That's ridiculous.
But when you do travel, it is expensive.
It's expensive.
You're gonna spend some money.
Yeah.
Have you ever been out to California, out in LA?
I haven't been out there yet, but that's my next one because I'm definitely...
Yeah, you got to go to LA, man.
Definitely.
It's a good time.
I feel like I would like it in LA. It seems kind of...
I like LA. The only thing I hate about it is the traffic. So, when we landed at the airport, our Airbnb was maybe 15 minutes away from the airport, but it took us an hour to get back to the Airbnb just because how bad the traffic was.
Oh my God.
That's what I hate about it.
Absolutely, and I see why people walk everywhere.
Yeah, and then at the time, gas was probably $5 or $6. Gas is high.
Ooh.
But luckily, everywhere that we had to drive to was kind of
in vicinity.
So
But shoot, you burning gas in traffic.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
But you gotta pay though, just if you want to get around.
You gotta pay. But I'm gonna pay the cheapest amount.
I feel like LA though, if you have a dream or a vision, I think you need to go out there and just experience though, because we did a comedy festival, and it's crazy. My friend John, shout out to John, he had a comedy festival, because my other friend Bilal, he connected me with John last year, and he was like, "Hey, John got a comedy festival. You need to go out, connect with him and cover the comedy festival." So. Went out there and did the comedy festival, and right now John is actually here. He's in Greenville right now. He's on tour with Tony Rock.
Oh,
they're in Greenville right now. They got a show tonight and Sunday night. But So yeah, I did John's Comedy Festival last year, and just to see how he was able to, follow his purpose and being a comedian, creating something that he had a dream and a vision for, put together a festival, and he had comedians from all over the country come in to this festival, just to do comedy on the stage and just network and fellowship with each other. And a lot of them was telling me, like, man, when we did interviews with them, they say, they was scrapping up money, putting their money together just so they can come out here and do a show with no guarantees that they was going to get signed by anybody or anything.
Yeah.
They just went to go follow their dreams. And so being in an environment like that in LA or in any environment in general, just like being around people that that's going after their dreams, it makes a huge difference. But LA is definitely one of those places. It's very expensive, but if you can get out there and just be in that environment around people that's just trying to go after their dreams, it's definitely
worth it. Because you have people out there that you can relate to, people out there that you can collaborate with, and it's just not like that in a small town.
No. You never know who you will meet. And what they'll do for you. So, like I said, I met Bilal. The first time I went, I ended up going to the Laugh House Comedy Factory. Did an interview out there. Then I interviewed some other comedians and entrepreneurs. So it's like you never know who you're gonna run into. I met I met Penny Toller, the lady who made the first basket in WNBA history. I met her out there. So it's like you never know who you're going to run into and connect with when you're in these different places. But LA
and it's inspiring. It inspires you to bring more to your platform or, who you could bring on to your platform and things like that. So I really love that for you. This is an amazing thing that you're doing, and keep going.
I appreciate it.
So to close out, what would you tell the viewers, like, who are either trying to start a podcast or following their dreams or anything like that? What kind of advice would you give them? Or just people in general, what kind of life advice would you give them?
Man, honestly, I would just say, well, before I give my advice, I would tell people that the interview that I did that changed my life. A lot of times people ask me this. They're like, I've done over 150 plus interviews, probably 200 or more. And people always ask me, they're like, man, what's your favorite interview? But I never say I have a favorite because I appreciate everybody taking their time to sit down and have a conversation with me. But if it's one interview that I did that completely changed my trajectory in my life, I did an interview with Ben Hall that owns Big Ben's Desserts. And it's called One Man, One Stove. He was probably maybe like the 5th or 6th person that I interviewed. But that interview is the blueprint to everything that I'm doing. Like, he changed my life. He's still one of my closest friends and mentors to this day. Because if it wasn't for him, maybe I'm not, I said about, working at ESPN and Fox. But if that interview doesn't happen, I don't know if I'm achieving things to this level that I am, because he gave me so much advice, and that interview is just about, believing in yourself and, just stepping out on faith and just to dream big. Because if not, he's like, if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. So I would tell anybody, just to dream big, have faith that everything is going to work out. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a perfect journey. But whatever it is, just go after your dreams. Don't give up. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. If you want to start a podcast, just do it. Don't expect to get 1 million views right out the gate. And you might have a point where at the beginning you have thousands of views, and then because people are so used to you being consistent in the middle, your views drop off because they're tired of seeing you drop stuff. That's when you got to keep on going and just keep on pushing. But that's going to show you if you really want it, because a lot of times people going to say, man, ain't nobody paying attention to what I'm doing anymore. I'm going to just give up. Nope. You just got to keep on going, keep on pushing. I always think of ways to, like, reinvent yourself and create other opportunities, but just dream big. I tell anybody that. Dream big and have faith. I know it sounds cliche, but you gotta have faith. If you don't have faith, man, I don't know how you gonna make it.
Well,
faith is everything.
Exactly. Well, being cliche is just telling the truth.
Yep.
So there you have it.
Yep.
Is there anything that you want to promote? Any new business ventures or anything like that?
You can always support the book. F School Life is Your Best Teacher. It's definitely a blueprint to my journey. Working on the documentary 864, it's gonna be special. So it's one thing to like read some of the stories in my book, but when you get a visual of like some of the things that go on the road and the behind the scenes conversations and with different entrepreneurs and everything, it's gonna be special. So that's gonna be coming. Hopefully next year the documentary will be ready, but I don't want to rush it just only because I want to take my time to make sure it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's definitely gonna be a tribute to where we're from. So 864 documentary is coming soon. F School Life is Your Best Teacher, and you can always support the Cross the Line podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at CarlosSmith92, and my website is carlosksmith.com. So those are ways you can find me. You can check out the book, and you can also come if you need a space to create your own content. We have a studio here, Cross the Line Studios, in partnership with Brand Wave Dynamic. So no more excuses. If you need someone to create content, this is your space. No more saying I don't have time. I don't know where I can shoot at. You make time for what's important for you. So if it's really important, here's the space for you, and feel free to reach out.
All right, there you have it, y'all. Carlos, thank you so much for coming on my platform.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.